So yeah, I look like I'm 5, but that's fine. It's okay. No one cares. Never an honest word. That was when I ruled the world. Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I don't know your situation, okay? I don't know how long you've been here. I don't know if you know who I am. No one knows. It's all new for everyone. Coming back with my SpongeBob shirt because it's Pride Month, and we knew that SpongeBob was gay, but Nickelodeon just confirmed it. We love to see that. We love it. Yeah, so we have officially 19/20 books to cover. Basically in today's video we're going to be ranking all the books that I read in high school from my least favorite to my favorite. I have so many opinions about these books because I had to read them so thoroughly and then talk about them so much. I just have so many opinions. So let's just get right into it. So my least favorite book that I had to read was Cry the Beloved Country by Alan Paton. I don't know his name. This book, I hated it. I just remember hating it. I did not like how it was written. I just didn't like it. I remember it was so boring, and this was the only book that I remember I was like, I don't even want to read it. I literally don't want to read that. I read this my sophomore year of high school. For some reason this book was hated by everyone. I don't know one person that likes this book. I think that everyone in my high school that had to read this was probably their least favorite book. The next book that I hated was The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. I don't like this book. I thought it was boring. I didn't agree with a lot of the views. I think that this book reads the same way that you would expect a white man to be writing about a woman's problems. That's how it was read. I think that the themes were good. It opened the discussion for important things, but it was very problematic. It's kind of like Glee, you know, they deal with a lot of really important issues and they can start conversations about important issues, but they did it in horrible ways that are incredibly offensive. I feel like that's this. The next book, I can't really explain why it's so low on the list, but it is. It just is. I think I read a lot of really good books, and this one I don't remember. So, which is The Chosen by Cheyenne Potok. That is not how you pronounce it at all. That's how I'm pronouncing it. I read this my freshman year of high school, and I just remember I didn't really like it. I don't really remember any of the book. I know that the main character is Jewish. I believe that the other main character is Jewish, and I remember thinking that the main characters were gay. Apparently it is a classic novel about the unlikely friendship that develops between two boys in 1940s Brooklyn. I remember being annoyed so much by the characters and feeling like they were like, oh, I'm better than you. Like, it was very preachy, kind of like, I'm better than you and you should act more like me, which I kind of hate in books. Like, if you're gonna do that, at least be nice about it. Like, oh, I'm also flawed. But it didn't come off that way. And it was boring. I don't remember it really at all. I remember that someone gets hit in the face with a baseball, and that there's philosophy in it. That's all I got for you. The next book, this is my fourth, this is just like going for it with this one, I guess you could say, which is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. So, is this a bad book? No. I read it freshman year of high school. As you can see, a lot of my least favorite books are freshman year of high school. So, it was a lot. It's a dystopian book. I think everyone in the book world kind of knows about Fahrenheit 451. But basically it's about a dystopian world where you can't read books, and reading books is like ostracized, and it's kind of like the Wrinkle in Time like thing where like the world where they're all dribbling the ball at the same time. It's kind of like that. I didn't like it. I hated the ending. I thought the ending was so stupid. Just like, I was like, oh, wow, great. Like, it was just, I don't know. I just remember not caring. I remember liking the concepts and then hating how they were executed and how the book finished. The next book is a really weird one. I still don't know why I had to read it. I remember this book confused a lot of people, and that is Wide Sargasso Sea by Jean Reyes? I don't know. But this is fan fiction. This is fan fiction that was published as a book. That's really all it is. And we read this after, my class read this after we read Charlotte Bronte. Or Jane Eyre. Oh my god. Whatever, you know what I mean. And it's basically telling like the background story of the crazy lady and the husband and their relationship. So I think that the concept is really cool. I just remember not really caring and seeing a little bit of problematic things in here, and I think that it read like fan fiction, which is not really what you want in a fan fiction that's trying to be a novel, I guess. Like, you don't want it to be like, yep, this sounds like fan fiction. I do like the ideas that they showed, which is kind of giving a like questioning to, was the woman in the attic actually mentally insane or whatever, or was she pushed to that limit? And also question like, was she insane by the time that we saw her in Jane Eyre, or was she always like that? So it was interesting. It wasn't like anything crazy or special, and yeah, this was kind of one of those books where I was just like, it's meh. It's meh. Oh my god, the next book, I literally don't know why I had to learn this for class. Like, I cannot tell you. The next book was the first book that I ever had to read for high school, and that is Sleeping Freshmen Never Lie by David Lubar. Lubar, yep. Sounds like lube, but there's a bar in it. Okay. I mean, I think that it was like a cool book to introduce as kind of like a first reading assignment. It's a contemporary book about a guy starting high school and him kind of figuring it out. But like, I wish that we had read a different one like that. Like, I wish that they had taught us Perks of Being a Wallflower. That would have been really cool. For one thing, our generation really loves that story. For second, it deals with more emotions like sexual assault, and depression and anxiety. I wish that there was just more depth in this book, and I feel like there wasn't. Like, I feel like this was just a contemporary novel. There wasn't really anything to dive deep into. And Perks of Being a Wallflower has a lot in there. It has so much in there. You have the freshman experience, you have the not having friends, you also have the feeling of friends leaving you behind, depression, suicide, anxiety, panic attacks, sexual assault, and also it's written in a weird format, which is letters. I feel like that would have been a much better book to kind of go in teaching. Also, it's incredibly short, which I also think is a good thing of like, oh, this is your first reading assignment, but like, I'm hip and like, I know what's what, because that book has so much more to offer. And like, you can even just talk about the writing style of a novel being told through letters. Like, even just that, there's something there. In this book, there wasn't. It was just a really meh book. I enjoyed my time, but I hated that I had to do it for school kind of thing. The next book I read my junior year of high school, which is A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. This book was super interesting. I think that it was a really cool book to teach in a high school lit class. I really like that. I appreciate what she was doing with this book. This is a nonfiction book. It's the only nonfiction book that I read in my lit class. This is the only nonfiction book that I read in my lit class, which is awesome that I was given that experience. I love my high school lit. My junior year lit teacher, she is an amazing woman. She's crazy. I love her. Like, crazy in the best way possible. And yeah, this book definitely was very different. I don't think I ever read this book in its entirety because we didn't have to read all of it. but it's basically a memoir slash philosophy book from the point of view of a guy that survived the concentration camps in Germany during World War II. This was actually the favorite book of a lot of students, which is awesome. It just wasn't one of mine. I didn't connect with it as much. I didn't really like a lot of the philosophies. I liked learning about it, and I loved the discussions that this book brought on, but my enjoyment reading it was not super high. It wasn't low, it just wasn't super high. The next book that I have is All the Pretty Horses by Cormac McCarthy. Got it. Said the name. There we go. So proud. He does remind me of like the novel version of Johnny Cash. Like if Johnny Cash wrote novels, he'd be writing things like this. It's like the only way I can put it. I don't know. But I love the style, but like the story just wasn't very interesting to me, but the way that he wrote was enough to bump him up fairly high on the list, because pretty much the rest of the books are just my favorites. Ooh, the next book. I have so many thoughts about it. And that is The Fall by Albert Camus. So if you guys don't know, the author of this book is a philosopher writer. I don't know, he writes like philosophy. He writes ideas that are based on philosophy. Wow, I don't know how you say that. I did not do it right. I love the writing style. I loved his ideas in this book. I wouldn't exactly say I enjoyed reading it, but I loved analyzing it and discussing it. I do like how it was executed, because also the main character is talking to you, which means that the reader is technically a character within the story, which is really awesome. And this next book, I went crazy while I was reading this book. I don't know why, I can't tell you, but it is Billy Budd by Herman Melville. This is my first Melville book that I ever read, and it will not be the last, but I have not read one since, and I read this my freshman year of high school. This book made me go crazy in a really weird way, because I became obsessed with proving that the main character and another character in the book was gay. That's all I wanted. I became obsessed with finding evidence for this guy being gay. That's like all I cared about. I love reading books from, you know, other centuries where they're basically gay. Like that's why I like Shakespeare so much, is because I'm like, boy was gay. He was so gay. He was writing like erotic scenes knowing that they were going to be played by two men. Like he knew what he knew. He has too many jokes about penises in there. Oh, the next book, honestly, I think people are gonna be shocked that it's so low on this list. But whatever. It's The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. So I can't really tell you why this book is so low on this list. I think I just liked other books more. I loved this book. I had a really, really good time reading it. I think I honestly enjoyed hearing more about F. Scott Fitzgerald than the actual book. I liked it a lot. I just don't think I got out of it what a lot of other people did. I loved the way that it was written, and I love the story. There was just something missing from this book. Ooh, the next book. This book took everyone I know by storm. Everyone I know loved this book. They had a great time reading it, and it was one of their favorites throughout all of high school, which is Lord of Flies by William Golding. Everyone I know loved this book. Literally everyone I know loved this book. This book was so fun to read. I mean, it was a cultural reset. Someone had to say it. But this book was so fun. I just remember this was one of the books I actually like enjoyed reading. Like I wanted to pick this up. I think I even finished this early. I just remember thinking that if you wanted to, you could read this book for all the symbolism, which there is a ton, and really analyze it, or you kind of just read it on the surface level and still have a really, really good time. Ooh, this next book. let's just get into it. Let's just get into it. So, The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. So problematic, but it's this high up here because of the ending. The ending changes everything. The ending changes everything. I loved this book. I had such a good time reading it. I loved the hidden meaning behind all of it. I love the discussions that it opens. It opens a lot of discussions about mental health and about lying, deception. I read this my junior year of high school and I loved it, and I also hated it because it's so annoying to read. Like, he's so annoying. Like, no one likes the main character at all. No one likes him. But we don't care. We're gonna read it anyways. Oh, the next book is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. See? It says it. I just have a cool copy of it. I just have a cool vintage copy. Okay, maybe I shouldn't do that. Yeah, so this was the first book that I read for my senior year of high school, which just finished. Yay for me. And I loved it. I loved this book. I loved it. I had a great time reading it. I loved the symbolism in it. I had a lot of opinions about a lot of things while I was reading this book, and I loved it. Okay, the next one is kind of half and half because it's kind of two books into one because we learn them together as one kind of piece of literature a little bit, so I kind of want to group them into one, which is Hamlet by William Shakespeare and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead by, I do not remember the name. But I like William Shakespeare. I think he's really funny, and that he is a really hard person to read because he just is like, I mean, it's Shakespearean language, it's weird, it's different, we don't read it a lot, and he uses a lot of old words that aren't really in our language literally at all anymore. It's confusing, but when you get used to it, it's fun. And this one is definitely for people that were depressed in high school. That's all it is. If you're not a theater major and you don't have depression, you don't like this book. I'm not a theater person, but I do have depression, so this book was fun, and I read it at a very low point in my senior year of high school, and I think that's why I liked it so much. The next book is, I think, very important to read in this climate that we're in right now, which is Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. This book was so heavy when I picked it up. This was the first book that I had to read for my junior year, and as you can see, I liked it. I liked it a lot. There's so much to unpack in this book, and it was so good. It was beautifully told. It was telling a beautiful story. I mean, it was a very sad story, but it was a beautiful story, and it was just amazing. We're down to the top three. The top freaking three. And I'm excited. I loved all of these pieces of literature. But we're gonna start with the one where I legit don't know why I learned it, but I'm happy that I did. Which is A Wrinkle in Time by, I don't even know, Madeline L'Engle. That was beautiful. Yeah, I read this book. This was, I think, the last book that I read for my freshman year of high school. I don't know why. We had already kind of read a dystopian, so I can't explain it. But this book I used to read with my grandma when I was a kid, and I actually read the entirety of the series. Yes, it's a series. I can't really tell you or explain to you why I had to learn this, but I did, and I really, really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed my time reading it, and I would like to reread the entirety of the series again. The second to last one is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I loved this book. I loved everything about this book. I loved how it was written. I loved the story. I loved the story behind Frankenstein and why it was written. I love Mary Shelley. Mary Shelley, marry me. Don't actually, I'm kind of terrified of you, but dear God, is she amazing. There's just like nothing about this book that I don't love and appreciate. It's so good. It's so beautiful. I think that you could argue that this book is poetry because of the way that she writes it. It's just poetry. It really is. And the creature, or Frankenstein's monster, whatever, you refer to it as, I don't know, is so beautiful. And he's just, I think one of my favorite characters of all time that is like just ever. I personally see myself in the creature a lot, which is a scary thing to say since, you know, it's a murderer. But just read the book and then you can yell at me, okay? But I loved it. I loved everything about it. I think that it was so well done, and I would definitely love to reread it again. The moment we've been waiting for. 1, for me to be done. 2, for my favorite book. That was so embarrassing. Okay. This was a book, I think the reason why this one beat Frankenstein is because it was a book that I made my grandma read. I don't make my grandma read a lot of books, but I made her read this. It's The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. I don't know, I just loved it. I just loved it. I loved how it was written, and I loved the stories. It made me cry. I did cry while reading this book. I did. And yeah, I want to read a lot more of Tim O'Brien. I just haven't because this book was so beautiful. I don't want to like ruin Tim O'Brien as an author for me. But I think that in this book, Tim O'Brien really broke the rules of literature. He really bended and broke the line of nonfiction and fiction, and he wrapped around it and he just tore it apart. I don't know. It's a war book that is different than other war books that really seem to just turn into the same book over and over and over again. So I love this book. I would recommend it to everyone. I don't think that you have to be a war kid or know anything about it to like this book and see the beauty and the pain and all of it in here. So yeah, what a great book to end on. What a beautiful book to end on. Those are all the books I read for high school. It was a lot. I read 20 books for high school, and I read so many more in between. And that's all I have to say. This video's over. I had a good time. I hope you had a good time. Thank you to all my teachers that introduced me to these books. Probably never would have read them. Would not have at least read them in the way that I did if it hadn't been for you guys. So yeah, I hope that you guys have an amazing day or night or morning, whatever, I don't know. And that's it. Bye. Goodbye.